Hey there, crafty friends. It's Tina from the Scrap and Rabbit blog, and it is theme week over at the Stamp Anything blog, which means we are putting together cards that fit our challenge theme for this month, and the theme is use something new. So I created a card using this adorable Annie Warm Toasty Hello. She is new to me, so this is the first time I've ever stamped with her. And I also decided to try a new technique using alcohol inks. So this is the card that I created using this stamp set and a new technique. And I'm going to go ahead and show you how I put this all together. So let's get started. So here are some alcohol inks that I picked up at my local scrapbooking store. Variation of colors, and I got them really cheap, under $2 a bottle. So I'm going to go ahead and pick out some blues because I knew I wanted to do a wintry themed. And I have this high gloss photo paper that I've had that I'm never going to finish using because it was back when we used to print our own pictures, which I don't really do that anymore. And I just am using stuff that I have. I didn't buy anything new for this. It's just stuff that's in my stash. So with this paper, I thought since I have to pull the little strips around it, I'm going to go ahead and try it since I've never used alcohol inks. And so I'm just using a few drops with some of the blender on this self-made little square of chipboard, and I actually put some shelf paper from the Dollar Tree on it so that I can wipe it clean and use it for messy jobs like distress ink and alcohol inks. So I'm just smearing the paper in there, and I'm trying different things to see how it works because I wanted to make sure that this paper was going to actually work for what I wanted it to do. I've heard both pluses and minuses of using the high gloss photo paper, but as you can see, it worked out really nice. And all you do is just take a wipey to wipe off your little board here, and you can reuse it over and over again. So now I decided that I wanted more control, and so I don't have any of the felt and the special applicators. I decided to just try using a cotton ball to see if that would work on some of those little strips before I actually went to go make my background. And as you can see, I have very good control, and it's blending very nicely, and it's attaching very well to the photo paper and my fingernails, I must say. And so I'm just experimenting with different colors and going over and swiping from left to right and seeing if this is going to work for me. And now that I'm happy with the results, I think that it's time to go ahead and try this on my actual project. So I'm going to go ahead and use the blues and the purple again, adding just a drop of color with the alcohol blending solution, swiping back and forth with the cotton ball, and I'm getting the effect that I'm looking for my background. So I'm starting out with the dark blue, and then I'm moving on to the purple using the same cotton balls, just switching it over and using the blank side. And then now I'm going to go ahead and use the lightest color and swiping that back and forth until I'm happy with my background. I decided to go ahead and make a second background because I figured while I'm making such a big mess here, I might as well get some more bang for my buck. And then that way I'll have a choice of which backgrounds that I should use for my project. So here are the two backgrounds that I was able to complete. And so now I can get started with coloring. Usually the first thing that I like to color is the skin, and so I take my lightest E color, which is E0000, and I just kind of wet down the face a little bit, and then I go in with the darkest color just around the shaded areas where I think that it's going to be a little bit darker, and then I'll add the cheeks. I don't always do it in this exact order, but I guess it just depends on how my coloring flow is going that day. I like to use R20 for the cheeks and then blend it out with the R30. And then going from darkest to lightest, I'm going to go ahead and grab my E00 to blend out that E11 and bring that color down the forehead and then over the cheek area to kind of smooth all that out. And then I go in with my E000 to continue blending towards the center of the face. I am by no means a professional. I am self-taught, and so I am always trying to improve my technique and to get better and better with coloring. And so my suggestions for all of you who are nervous about getting started, just try it. Just try it and keep going because you will get better each and every time. That's what's happening for me. And so every time I go to color a stamp, I strive to improve with my coloring. Now with the face, I do 2 to 3 layers of color just so that I can get the look and depth that I want. And I'll go ahead and use the same colors to the skin area, which in this case is going to be her little hands. Now once I'm done with her skin, I usually will do her little tongue, and I like to make her tongue a little on the dark red side, and so I'll use the R12 and the R05, and I like the way that that looks. Now the hair for me has always been a challenge, but it's something that I really enjoy. Now what I'm doing with the E50 is just kind of marking the areas where I want it to be the lightest. You can't see that very well, and it's not meant to show up. It's just, I use that as a personal guideline because, like I said, I'm no expert, and it's always trial and error by me, for me as I go ahead and attempt to color the hair each time. So now I'm going to go ahead and go in with the E25, which is my second to lightest color, and I'm going to go just shy of that area that I put down initially with the E23. So I'm kind of working backwards from the light to the dark as I move on to the E27. And for me, I like to work in sections. I won't do the entire hair. I will just do sections of it. I'm not that fast. I'm actually a pretty slow colorist, and so I will just do little sections at a time so that way I can blend each area. Now when I go in with the darkest shade, which is the E59, I'm going to go in from the outside in, and then now I'm going to go backwards from darkest to lightest, going in over those different colored layers and blending that out towards the center, all the while keeping in mind that the center area that I marked with that E50 is going to be my lightest. Now you can leave a lot of white space, and in the past I used to leave a lot of white space, and it looks pretty good that way. Lately I've been trying something new and filling more in and leaving less white space. So it's all personal preference, and so I am just trying different things each time I color an image, and I hope to and strive to get better and better so that my image is as cute as can be. So continuing on, I'll go ahead and repeat exactly what I did in that first section, and I'll go ahead and choose the next section of hair that I'm going to color, starting with that lightest color, moving towards the center of the highlight, and then once I mark off the areas that I want to work on, then I'll go ahead and go to the second lightest and move in towards that highlight area and repeat lightest to dark, and then repeat again from dark to light. And that's just kind of the pattern that I have developed through practice and striving to get some nice blended looks and to have the hair actually look like strands of hair. And like I said, I am not fast, and there are plenty of colorists out there who have different technique and do a beautiful job and color in more areas at a time than I do. I really do take my time and do little bits and little strands at a time, all the while just trying to blend out one color from the next so that I get a nice realistic hair look. So here I am with my darkest color again, and I'm going to go in to the areas that I know are going to be the darkest because of the shadows where the hair sits on the little stamped image. And then again, going from darkest to lightest, blending it out and blending it up towards the center of that highlight area. Just working on little areas at a time. And I think that she's coming along nice and cute. I think I like this color combination. I've used it before in the past and kind of forgot about it. And this gives a nice, almost like a milk chocolatey brown hair, of course with some of that lighter brown for the highlighted areas. This particular stamp image, this is the first time I'm coloring her, and I think that she is adorable. And something that I forget to mention is the paper. I am actually using a piece of, I believe this is the 80-pound Nina Classic Crest Solar White. This image is not embossed like I usually will do, but I stamped her using the Lawn Fawn black ink, and I really like the crisp image that I got. Now moving on to her boots, I'm going to use a different family of browns. And when I was a kid, I had boots this color, and that was kind of like that camel brown. So I decided that I wanted to mimic what those boots that I had that I loved that were so comfy. And so I'm starting with that E42, going from lightest to darkest, E42, E43, and then the E44, and then going from the darkest to the lightest. So similar to how I did the hair, keeping that whole center part of the boot as the highlight so that it looks like the light is coming straight on. So once I blend those colors out, it's coming together nicely. And I think I'm gonna do the jacket matching with the boots at this point. So going back in with the E44, giving it a little bit more shadow and depth, and then blending it out again with the E43 and the E42. So once I'm happy with the boot, then I'm going to go ahead and move on to the jacket. So with the jacket, I'm going to go through with the lightest areas, which is going to be the center of the jacket and then the top part of the sleeves. So once I mark all of that off with my lightest color, I'll go in with the darkest, the medium color, and just kind of mark off how I want the colors to flow and contrast. So now I'm going to go in with that darkest color to go into the shaded areas where the coat is going to appear the darkest because of the shadow. And then from there I'll blend out with that E43. And I've never colored her before, so as I'm doing it, I might not have, if I was doing her over and over again, then I probably would have it down, but since I'm just kind of experimenting to try to see how those colors look together and how they're blending, and to see if it's the look that I'm looking for in terms of the matching coat and boots. And so I'm just trying to keep that center area clear where that's going to be the highlight, and then blending in the browns around. I forgot to color those little tips of the hair there, so I went back in. For the scarf, I'm going to start off with the Spectrum Noir LV1. I have a good selection of Copics, but not as many as I would hope, and I need to get some more of the purples. So that was my missing my missing blending trio, was the LV1 to help me put this scarf together to get the colors to blend as I wanted it to. So I'm using the Copics BV00, and then the darker one is the V17 for the shadow. For the jeans, I'm going to use a Spectrum Noir TB3 for my highlight color, and then I'm going in with the B18 and then blending that out with the TB3, and then my darkest color is going to be the B39 for the shadow. Now I have the entire collection of Spectrum Noirs. However, I don't use them as often as I use the Copics. I much prefer the Copics. I find I get much better blends using the Copic markers versus the Spectrum Noir. Now going into the cuffs of the jacket and the boots, I'm going to use some natural grays, the N1 and the N0, and I won't color the entire area, just the shadow portion, and then I'll go ahead and blend that out using my 0 marker, my colorless blender. Continuing on with the hat, I'm starting out with the BV01, and as you are going to see, I was looking at that marker and it looked a little funny to me, and it looked heavily saturated, and boom, I don't know if you've ever had that happen to you, but it's happened to me a few times and it is not fun, especially when it's during a recording, a video recording. So I'm leaving it be for now, and I'm going to go ahead and use my colorless blender to lift up as much of that color as I can. But I'm using BV01 to blend out the BV, or the BV00 to blend out the BV01. Now the colorless blender will lift some of that color and dilute it into the paper, and so I usually tap off on the side there, as you can see, so that I'm not spreading the color around. So once I get that off, I'm going to go ahead in with my darkest color, the V17, from the sides of the hat, and I'm going to go from darkest to light to the towards the center of the hat. And so once I have that down, I'm going to blend it out with the BV01, and then towards the center, the very center of the hat, I'll go in there with the BV00, going from darkest to light, and having that highlight area match the same highlight area as my boots. Now I'm going to work on the little pom-pom on the hat using the same grays, the N1 and the N0, and my colorless blender to get that little ball on the top of the cap there. And of course, a card just would not be a card if it didn't have sparkle. So I'm going to use my Spectrum Noir sparkle marker, and I'm going to go in over the little ball on the top of the hat. I'm going to go over the braided area on the cap as well. And then moving along, I feel like I want to add sparkle to the cuffs of the jacket, the boots, and her scarf as well. So here she is, all colored up and sparkly, and I'm going to fussy cut her out. Well, now I'm ready to go ahead and put together my card. I went ahead and I cut out a stitched rectangle frame. I cut out some layers for the snow, and I'm going to use that sentiment, a warm and toasty hello. So I found these little snowflake sequins that was gifted to me from a friend, and so I'm going to go ahead and use that as well. To stamp the sentiment, I'm going to use some VersaFine ink, and I'm going to use clear embossing powder to go ahead and emboss the sentiment on there. And I love the way that the VersaFine stamps for sentiments, so crisp and clear, and then adding that layer of embossing powder on it really just makes that sentiment pop. I love the way that that looks. I like to run my heating tool for a few seconds before I actually put it on my paper so that it's nice and hot, and then it embosses really quickly. Once I have my sentiment embossed, I'm going to go ahead and adhere the layers. I use an ATG gun as one of my adhesives for card making, and I'm very happy with how that works out. I will go ahead and center that layer of the alcohol ink layer on there, and I'm going to adhere the frame over that. But first I'm going to add the frame over my snow layers so that way I can get it nice and straight. When I'm adhering something really thin, I like to use my Zig two-way pen. It is a really strong permanent adhesive. I've never had any problems with it, and I use it for most of my paper piecing. I'm going to use some liquid glass for the adhesive of my sequins. I've never used it before, and I did find it to be a little bit too blobby. It kind of leaked out under my sequins, so it wasn't the look that I was hoping for, but I think it still turned out pretty. I'm using some foam tape on the back of my stamped image so that I can prop her up and have her nice and dimensional on the face of my card. And so there you have it. That is my finished card. I want to thank you guys so much for stopping by and watching. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and maybe we'll try something new and join the challenge over at StampAnniething. Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.